Hello from my heart, everybody, and welcome to Transitions to Transformation Radio. Hey, folks, tonight we have a wonderful special guest with us tonight. Her name is Beverly Banov Brown. And this woman, talk about a jack of all trades. This woman is a medical intuitive. She is psychic. She's a life coach, an energy healer. Gosh, and future author. She's going to have a few books coming out, which we're going to talk about. And just just being in her presence, you just feel like you're in a healing mode, and it's just wonderful. And Beverly also plays crystal bowls and the harp. Mm-hmm. Just fabulous. I mean, gosh. I mean, what else can you possibly do? Well, first, let me introduce you, everybody. This is Beverly Banov Brown. Thank you so much for coming onto the show tonight.
It's my joy to be here.
Thank you
for having me.
Anytime.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Your energy is just great. I could say, I could see auras, and I just see green, which is typical of a healer. Just a lot of love and a lot of healing that I get from you, and it's just wonderful. And we were talking a bit before the show about a lot of things. But basically, we want to talk about codependency today because it's such a big issue with everybody. Mm-hmm. I know it was with me. I lived my life good 42 years codependent. I'm very happy to say the past couple of years I've weaned myself off from that. But I am doing much better. And Beverly, what are your thoughts about codependency?
Well, Susan, since the 80s, I've had the privilege since I started to practice in Greenwich Village in New York City, where I was a holistic therapist specializing in women's issues. And it was at a time when there were very few other practitioners doing holistic and alternative work. And it was very strongly in my awareness even then that there were so many wonderful women and men who were often very effective in other areas of their lives, their professional lives, their family life in many ways, but in their personal lives, in their romantic lives, and often with their children, with their parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents, there was a tendency towards what is now known as codependency. And what codependency is to me, and it's many different things to many different people, the definition I usually use is a tendency towards believing that without that person in your life, whether it's a partner or a parent or a child or a sibling or a deep friendship, you're not okay. And it runs on a continuum. It's not only yes you are or no you're not codependent. It runs on a very, very wide continuum, and where it shows up very often the worst place in people's lives is in romantic situations. People can be friends for 20 years, and the moment that a romantic dimension is introduced into the relationship, suddenly all the unfinished business that they have with their family of origin, their teachers, their clergy people, whoever was really primo in their early life, when their beliefs, attitudes, and values were really ingrained in them from age in utero up to about 6 or 7 years old, that gets activated. Not in one person, but in both people. And so suddenly you have dynamics that often come out that are really, really different from what has been in the relationship before. And one of the other things that I've noticed over the nearly 30 years I've been doing this work is that people who meet and very quickly latch on to one another and even quickly move into each other, into one of each other's homes or get a place together, they don't really know each other.
Exactly.
They may have a very strong physical attraction. There may be something about their energy that's resonating at a level that reminds them of a parent they have unfinished business with.
Yes.
That they wanted to please or they felt not good enough for, and they were trying on some unconscious level to prove their worthiness. And before you know it, that little honeymoon period where they're totally in bliss starts to waver, And then they get into, you did this, you didn't do that, you don't pay attention to me, or whatever the issue is. You don't value me, you take me for granted, you're not faithful, I can't trust you, or there's lying, or there's deceit, or it takes a myriad number of forms. But what's really going on is that they're not feeling their fullness, they're not feeling their own divinity. And part of my work, and really part of my own mission as a healer, is to help people and assist and support and really love people through that process of discovering and reclaiming their own divinity. That's why my coaching practice is called EdenRegained Healing Arts.
Yes.
Because I think we all have wandered far from the garden, and we all need to reclaim and regain Eden. And the beautiful thing about spirituality is that it really teaches you, in the way that I've come to understand it, that you're never excluded from God's love, or the love of the goddess. Whatever words fit for you, whether it's divine presence, great creator, the grand organizing designer, I like to refer to that energy that is original cause, and I believe is original innocence.
Oh, yeah.
So that's really what it is. It's a yearning. Codependency at its deepest level, I believe, is a yearning of the soul for the knowledge and the awareness of their alignment, of its alignment with Spirit. And Spirit lives within us.
Yes.
Therefore, it's never away from us, and we are never alone. So, when you're feeling a codependent relationship with another person, where you feel like you're going to die without that person loving you,
exactly,
approving of you, interacting with you, choosing you over anything and anyone else in your life, what you're really experiencing is an illusion that that person can complete you.
Right.
And that is an illusion, because the truth is, we are already whole and complete.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. And one thing that hit me, being a codependent for 40 plus years, I was previously in a relationship where he reminded me so much of my dad, and he was even the same astrological sign as my dad. Real sweetheart, like my dad, but he had an eye for the women.
Mm-hmm.
And, I would get angry because I felt the same childhood pain that I felt when my father did that in front of my mother.
Yes.
And being a helpless kid and just watching it, to having this reflected back at me, this childhood pain, through somebody else.
Exactly.
And,
yes.
And it's like, I don't, any guy I date, I don't expect him to wear blinders, but, at least be respectful, be a gentleman.
Well, the thing that usually happens in what you're describing, and I so appreciate your sharing that.
That's okay.
Because it takes a lot of courage to be willing to talk about these topics so personally. Part of what I believe was happening was that you were attracting that in that man, not as a punishment,
right? Not
as a way of abusing yourself, you were attracting that because it was an opportunity for you to have the awareness you just described.
Yes.
And move past it.
Right.
And heal it. And that is the reason, I believe, the higher purpose usually, of why we attract people who stimulate these old wounds.
Yes, absolutely. Because they mirror.
Yes.
They shine like a mirror shines in the sun.
Yes.
It's kind of like that. We're showing each other what we need to learn. I've looked at all my previous relationships now as teaching relationships. It's turning me into a better soul by making me, getting these epiphanies. Like, wow, oh my God, this is mirroring what happened to me as a kid, and I'm trying to fix what happened to me as a kid through this man.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's exactly what the process is all about. It's all about healing. It's all about working through the areas that are still feeling raw, like raw nerve endings, really, for many people.
Yeah.
And when you did that, when you had that awareness, that immediately elevated the situation to a place where you could say to to your own spirituality, to your own home of spirituality within you. What is the higher purpose here? How can I see this differently? And please, Holy Spirit, lift this pattern from me so that I don't hurt myself or anyone else with it anymore.
Exactly.
And to the extent that you can be conscious enough to do that, it does not mean you're not going to feel the pain.
Right.
It doesn't mean that it's going to be a walk in the park.
Yeah.
However, the fact that you had enough conscious awareness to choose that person and know that you were choosing that person because he was re-stimulating an old wound with your dad,
yes,
allows you to move ahead. And most people don't have that awareness yet. And that's why I'm so grateful that we're having a chance to talk about this today. And it's one of the reasons I'm working on a book that will include that information, because I really believe that people, when they're given the chance, will always, like a plant, grow toward the light.
Oh, absolutely. And there's so many, I learned years ago about I'd say 20 years ago, about codependency. I went to a psychologist because I was with my first husband, and he had taken notice that I tried to, in a kind of like a motherly kind of love, try to take everybody's situation and make it better. I mean, I'm a healer, that's what I do, but I took it to a codependent level because I did not want to deal with things that have happened to me since childhood that were of a sexual nature, that, I kind of lost my childhood with, and just just being able to realize, oh, there is a name for it, codependency. It's like, okay, I'm trying to escape from my emotions through trying to, I didn't look at it as controlling, but maybe, it was controlling, other people's situations, because I felt it was my job on earth to help other people heal, and which it is, but not necessarily get into their business. So
boundaries.
Boundaries. I had to learn about boundaries. I had to learn about, not everybody wants my help, and that was tough.
One of the things that, again, I've noticed in terms of working with clients and friends and family who I've known, and in my own life certainly too, that very often we've grown up in situations where the mother, the father, the aunts, uncles, grandparents did not necessarily know too much about boundaries. This wasn't studied, this wasn't taught in school.
Right.
And they were doing the very best they knew how. And yet, there was a message given that taught the child that there were ways of getting along with people, and there were ways of interacting in the family that did not include respectful boundaries.
Yeah.
Where there may have been a lot of overstepping of information, or not keeping confidences, or feeling that somehow a person had to be in the presence of another, that being alone was not okay, a message that being single was not okay, that somehow the world goes around in twos. That's an old cliche that's overused for a reason, because most people believe that.
Yeah.
And most people will do almost anything to be in some sort of something where they can refer to themselves as we.
Yeah.
And one of the beautiful things about what you're describing is that if you work with the inner child, as I often do with people, you realize that if you can help a person to identify what is the trigger that's occurring in the relationship, whether it's a friendship or a romance, or a family member situation, or a work situation, because it happens a lot in the workplace.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Where you'll have a coworker who just annoys you tremendously.
Yeah.
And maybe sets you off with a tone of voice, a look, making noise, trying to control you, questioning whether you know what in the world you're doing on your job.
Yeah.
It can take many forms, and if you can stop long enough to take the deep breath, and if you're a person who prays, then pray.
Yeah.
But as the 46th Psalm always says, peace, be still.
Yes.
Be still and know I am. And when you can do that, you can hear that still small voice in you that says, this is not about that person.
Right.
That person has come to be your teacher, your gift, to show you an area of yourself that you need to heal. When was that, you might ask?
Yeah.
And then you go within and be quiet again. The answer will reveal itself.
Yeah.
You might have been a 6-year-old child. You might have been molested. You might have been hurt on the playground. A bully might have bothered you. Somebody might have beaten you up, taken your toy away. It can take 1,000 different forms. You could be an incest survivor. We don't know initially. I am an intuitive, and very often I get information from my clients that helps me to kind of shorten the process for them if they're open to that. If they're not open, I don't work that way. Only if I know that it's allowable. But once you identify the age and as much as possible the details of when this happened and who it happened with, you're halfway home to healing it.
Yeah.
Because then you can realize that at that moment when that person, that teacher of yours, you may not be very thrilled to meet.
Yeah, I've had other names.
Yes, many other names, I'm sure. Some of them we wouldn't necessarily receive on the radio.
Definitely not.
Definitely not. And once you realize that, though, you can understand at a whole new level, because your adult self can know and take over and say, wait a minute, I was 6 years old when that trigger situation occurred that this person is reminding me of. Therefore, in the moment that I get so angry, upset, bereft, when I feel abandoned, because abandonment is a huge issue for most people underneath it all.
That was mine. Mm-hmm.
The fear of being alone and untended in the universe.
Yeah.
That in itself is huge, because you can say to yourself, do I really want a 6-year-old governing what I'm going to do? My choices, my decisions, my peace.
Yeah.
And you can talk to that 6-year-old self the way you would talk to a child who needs your love.
Exactly.
And who needs your compassion and your understanding, and who has the magical child still within it. It's always there. It never dies. It hides sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's always there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I actually printed out a picture of myself when I was a little girl holding a little doll, like a cloth doll, and I have it up on my altar. I have like an altar, you know, my healing altar, and that's what I do. I just light a candle and I say, you know, you're safe now. You know, years ago I had gone for inner child therapy where I wore these goggles. They were, what was it called? SEN. I forget what it's called. Forgive me, folks. But it was goggles, and it had like these pulsating lights in there, and it was retraining my brain. Boy, did that stir up a lot of memories. And it was, you have to like really walk through, go through the moat to get to the castle.
Yes, you do.
You have to go really through a lot of garbage that you really don't want to deal with. Well, but you have to deal with, you know, at that time to get to where you need to be.
Well, fortunately, over the years, in my practice, I have been very blessed to have discovered many new ways and techniques of working with this so that you no longer have to go through all of that. It is sometimes important to identify the age, where it happened, who it happened with, but now, really, in the last year or so, I've been very blessed to find new ways to help people where they don't have to talk about the details, they don't have to reenact, they don't have to re-stimulate all these old, horrible, anguishing wounds, and there's actually very, very gentle, very elegant ways of, through prayer, through meditation, through various techniques using visualization, where they just can let it go. And they never, in forgiveness, I've taught workshops in forgiveness where we talk about releasing what happened. You're not condoning it. There are things that are actually unforgivable, but the word forgiveness, if you put an R on it, it's for the giver.
Yeah.
It's for yourself that you forgive, and as you forgive, you automatically raise your own vibration by unburdening yourself from that terrible burden, which ironically only further binds you to that person or that thing which you least want to be bonded with.
Yeah.
So you're not condoning what was done, and you are releasing for yourself so that you free your energy and your love and your ability to live life joyfully, and you now have the freedom to make new choices and attract new people into your life and new opportunities. But as long as you're in that contractive state, and I'm making two fists right now to show Susan, to illustrate the point, that are closed fists, it's very hard for the universe to send you wonderful new things, people, opportunities. But when you release with an intention of neutrality, sometimes the best you can hope for is just to come to a point of neutrality with someone, because maybe what they've done, maybe their wounds and the way they interacted with yours were so seemingly horrendous that it's very hard to imagine ever having them be trustworthy enough to be in your heart again.
Yes.
And that's okay. We don't ever have to see the person again who we're forgiven.
Right.
There's a fallacy about that. A lot of couples where there's been lying, cheating, deception are still believing what I believe is a very damaging idea, that in order to forgive, you have to take the person back as your mate.
Right.
You don't.
You don't.
You're free to move on and let them move on and learn their next lessons away from you.
Right.
But as long as you hold on to that belief, again, the codependent echoing here, that it's not safe to be alone, that somehow you're not enough for yourself, that you are inadequate in some way unless you are part of a we, half of something, or that you need somebody, your line from the Jerry Maguire movie. You completely. I think that it was very romantic in the moment, but it also was an extraordinarily damaging message to millions of people who suffer from varying degrees of codependency.
Oh, absolutely, because you're giving your power away.
Exactly.
You know?
Yes. And part of regaining Eden is taking your power back and knowing that you are God's beloved child.
Right.
And as you know that and really live it and really feel the presence, whether it's in the coolness of a breeze on your cheek, or playing with a puppy or a kitten, or looking in a friend's glowing eyes, or looking in the mirror at your own eyes and seeing yourself as soul, or reading some very uplifting poem, or looking at a beautiful piece of art, whatever form it is for you. Some people get literally into a state of ecstasy when they look at the petals of a carnation or a rose or a tulip, and I'm one of them. I mean, I can get high on the beauty of a Macintosh apple skin, or peeling a peach and seeing that color, because I'm also a visual artist. And there are just a myriad number of things that can bring us so much happiness, and we need to look. We need to set our intention every morning. Please let me notice. Thank you, God, for constantly bringing me that which makes me happy, for noticing the blessings that have already been given.
Yes, having an attitude of gratitude is just wonderful, because energy flows where attention goes. There's two rhymes for you folks.
Yes, I love that. When you say that again, it's so important.
Yes, thanks. Having an attitude of gratitude is so important, because attention goes where energy. Energy flows where attention goes.
Yes.
I get that backwards sometimes. But
and to pay attention to something or someone is really such a powerful form of honoring.
Yes. Because
our time and our energy and our attention are the most valuable things that we have, because they are a reflection of the divine within us. You know, on one level there is no time, and on another level, time is something that we've created to make sure that when we have a radio interview, we get while we're available when we both say we will be. And so it's important. And on another level, if you've ever gotten into a situation like when I paint or when I write poetry, or for that matter when I do sessions with people, because I so love my work, that it feels almost like play at times. I do get lost in the time. And
Yeah, me
too.
too.
I really have to pay attention and see when is our time concluding. Otherwise,
Right.
I can just go on for hours.
Oh, me too. It's like I'm finding that I need to have balance between my, I take care of my mom. I take care of the house. Sometimes I get lax with that. Sometimes I get lax with my artwork and my poetry too. And I just, finding that balance is what we need to do. We're going to talk about past lives and how they affect codependency. Like how that connects, how two people connect in so many different ways. I mean, what are your thoughts about that, Beverly?
Actually, over the years as a coach, I've noticed that in working with people, when we identify those situations where they realize it's not only triggers from this lifetime, it's actually that there's some sort of a past life connection they feel with the person. They don't always realize it at the time initially. When we talk about it and I ask certain questions and bring out certain awarenesses in them, they do realize that there has got to be some kind of a connection. It can be from this lifetime also, and it usually includes past life. And usually the stronger the irritant that the person is showing you, the likelier it is that it's not only this lifetime, it is past life. And when that happens, it's an incredible gift. I've worked with people over the years, for example, who have been phobic. This is not about codependency, this is an aside, but they've had a terrible phobia about going over a bridge, about drowning, about any number of things, spiders, snakes,
Oh, yeah.
Public speaking.
Yeah.
It takes many, many different forms. And sometimes in relationships, for example, I've worked with people and I'll change the circumstances because confidentiality is so important. I've worked with people, though, who've had situations where they've had a mate with whom they seem to be very, very, very adversarial when they first met. And they didn't understand why. Both of them couldn't stand the sight of each other, couldn't stand some physical feature, or couldn't stand some qualities that they saw. And maybe it was jealousy, maybe it was anger issues, impulsivity. It takes many, many ways and forms, these things. It's also a very kind of nuanced at other times, where it's a subtle thing. You don't know what it is about that person that aggravates you. You just know you want to run as fast as you can, as far as you can away from him or her. And then when we've done some work together in sessions, it's come out through past life regression work and meditative work that actually there was a lifetime where that person was central to their lives. Maybe a father, a mother, maybe a sibling, maybe a mate, where something went terribly wrong. And there may have been a situation where if it's a fear of snakes, for example, and there's some connection with a partner, that it could have been that they died by a snake bite, and the partner was not able to save their lives by getting them to helping time. Maybe they didn't know to apply a tourniquet if it was a bite on the hand, let's say. Something happened that was traumatic, that was heavily affecting their lives in that lifetime. We've lived, I believe, many, many lifetimes, because I do believe the soul is eternal, and we keep living new lives in order. Sometimes we come back just to be of service to humanity,
Right.
and many times we come back to keep purifying ourselves and learning to be the most loving people we can be.
Oh, wow.
And it's quite a process.
It is a process, and you hit a nail on the head with me. I've always had this fear of snakes. I mean, I used to hold snakes, and I was over the fear for a while, but lately, about 3 nights ago, I had a dream of a snake hissing at me.
Really? Tell me about that.
And it went to go for me.
Yeah.
It didn't quite bite me, but it went for me. And where I live right on the Gulf of Mexico, and there's a bayou behind my house, and the water, the seawall gets pretty high sometimes, and I'm always fearing that the snakes come out. And we get a lot of black snakes that are about 10, I'd say about good, actually 4 to 5 feet long. There was a snake that was curled up in front of my door. It was what was it? It wasn't a rattler. It was, I forget. It was a baby. Yeah, it was a baby rattler. That's what it was. But it didn't harm me. I walked right past it. It was curled up. It was coiled up. But I walked in the house very gently. I shut the door. I didn't freak out or anything. I called my dad, and my dad disposed of the snake.
Congratulations that you didn't freak out. That took a lot of presence and courage.
Thanks,
really.
Yeah. And it was just a baby, so I didn't think it would hurt me. I didn't get the sense that it would, but, every night when I come home and I pull in the driveway, I always have this fear. I take out the garbage sometimes at night.
Mm-hmm.
Monday nights it goes out, and I'm always afraid there's a snake in the pail, there's a snake all around. I have this fear of snakes, and I know I have to get it out of my mind, because we plant that seed and we can make it happen.
We don't want to attract that which we fear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I know.
So when you said that, about snakes and stuff, that's definitely got to be from past life situation. And the guy that I was with, we both had past lives in Egypt.
Mm-hmm. But
it's always this thing where we break up, we get back together about 5 different times. So it's probably something that was definitely unhealed, and I believe that could very well be it. Maybe my partner did not help me, or maybe I didn't help him with the snake.
Mm-hmm.
Being bitten, and especially in Egypt, they have the asps.
That's right.
So there you go. Oh my God, I got my healing, folks. This is amazing.
Well, I'm glad if you have an insight, because very often I've found in working with clients that once they have the conscious knowledge of what it was, in which lifetime, which I help guide them to find, then the whole issue becomes null and void.
Yeah.
They've gotten the message, they've gotten the lesson, the gift of it, because there always is a gift.
Yeah.
There always is a gift. And sometimes there is some sort of a karmic debt between people.
Yes.
So, for example, I've worked with couples where one was unfaithful to the other, and in doing some past life regression work, it's come out that in the lifetime they were together, the other one was unfaithful.
Oh. And
so they've come back in this lifetime, been attracted to each other, because there's going to be an evening of the score. And it's not, a lot of times people feel that that karma is a punishment. It's not a punishment at all. It's an opportunity for you to learn the lesson that you may have wished you could have learned in that lifetime.
Wow.
And because there is no time, if you learn it now, in what we are calling 2012, or you learned it back in ancient Egypt, it doesn't really matter. What matters to the soul is the soul expressing love as purely as possible, because God is the love that underlies everything, the glue that keeps it all together and sustained, and that created all of this. So that's the message that's so important to remember. It's not to be thought of as a punishment. It's to be regarded as an opportunity. And we really get to a point when we do this work enough over a long enough period of time where we really appreciate and thank, not necessarily in person, but thank the spirit of that person, animal, or situation that showed us what we needed to learn for our unfoldment.
Yes, absolutely. Now, this is just so wonderful. Beverly, I can't thank you enough for being on the show. You certainly gave me a healing. Oh, boy. And Beverly is a life coach. And not only that, you do creative workshops.
Yes, I do.
So if you want to talk a little bit about that, and also how people can contact you.
Sure. The best way to contact me right now is on my Facebook, which is Beverly Banov Brown. It's Beverly, Beverly. Banov is B as in boy, A-N as in Nancy, O-V as in victory. Brown like the color. And I'm on Facebook, and you can also contact me by emailing me, which is at coachhq@gmail.com. So that's COACHHQ@gmail.com. And if you want to, I hope it would be all right with Susan if you contact me through
You're more than welcome to contact Beverly through me. I have my Facebook webpage too. It's Transitions to Transformation Radio, and you're more than welcome to contact me through there. And if you're interested in Beverly, and she is a definite healer. I can see auras, and she glows a beautiful green aura, which is typical of a healer, and she's just marvelous to be around with. I feel very healed right now, with the epiphanies about the snakes and everything, and your voice is just so calming, and it's just so soothing, and you also play the harp, and you also play crystal bowls too.
I am a sound healer as well, and I use the Tibetan singing bowl.
Yes.
To usually introduce a session, and it sets a tone, and it's very calming. I do a very deep relaxation if people are open to it when we first start a session. I work for an hour and a half with my clients because I really feel an hour is just too short a time. And I do a lot of phone sessions. I love to do phone sessions from anywhere that people can really sit down and focus in on what we're doing. And the psychic work is not diminished. It's actually sometimes, believe it or not, increased by doing the work on the phone, because I'm not distracted at all by the look or the clothes or anything else, and neither is my client. Mm-hmm. So it actually winds up being even closer to just a pure spiritual connection. And you referred to my workshops. I've done workshops on everything from forgiveness, meditation and mindfulness. I love to work with people who are what I call blocked creatives.
Yes.
As Julia Cameron referred to in The Artist's Way. So I've done workshops on pathways to creativity.
Wow.
I teach art, I teach poetry, I teach writing. And I've done a lot of couples work, a lot of relationships work. Obviously the discussion about codependency. I love to help people liberate themselves from the horrible obsessiveness of codependency.
Yes.
It's a privilege to do the work, It's a
Absolutely.
joy to help people find out who they really are, and that they really are more than enough.
Yeah. Oh, that's just wonderful. You're my kind of gal, I tell you. You're welcome. You're a healer in all areas of life, creative, unblocking creatives, and this is, I was just thinking about Julia Cameron's book,
Mm-hmm.
The Artist's Way, last night.
Were you really?
Yes.
It's a phenomenal book.
It is.
Yeah.
And, I'm just exactly at the right place at the right time talking with you, and I'm just feeling very blessed to be in the moment, just being here with you and sharing your gift of healing with everybody. So thank you so much, Beverly, and and I want to thank everybody out there for listening, and hope you get healing, and you'll especially get healing if you contact Beverly. Beverly Banov Brown, and on Facebook, or you can contact her through me on my Transitions to Transformation Radio page on Facebook. So I want to wish everybody a wonderful and blessed night, and I will see you next week.